A lot of us probably don't know where we're going to end up drafting this summer in our redraft fantasy football leagues, and it's okay to not know. Obviously, every year we all look for that top prize. Maybe for you it's Saquon Barkley or Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, one of those guys. If you're in the back of the first round or even in the middle, there are some intriguing options that you can select. If you want a running back, Jahmyr Gibbs is an option in the middle. If you like a wide receiver, there's guys like CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Malik Nabers. But there's one wide receiver in particular that I think right now is a blessing if you can find your way to draft him at the end of the first round. And that's Nico Collins, wide receiver of the Houston Texans. Nico Collins, right at the breakout age 26, where we see most wide receivers end up having their breakout season. We're going to go into the pros and cons of investing a first round price tag on a guy like Nico Collins. But first, let's roll the intro. And before we go on and talk about the cons and some of the negatives that may come along with drafting Nico Collins, let's talk about the good and the potential outcomes that we have in front of us first. If we look at Nico Collins' 2024 season as a whole, had 99 targets, 68 receptions, just over 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns to go along with that in 12 games. And now the first thing I look at when I see that is, damn, he only played 12 games. We all know availability in fantasy football is your best ability. So right off the bat, knowing that Nico Collins has not played a full season in his entire career so far, though he's young, he just turned 26, has not stayed healthy yet, we know availability is not an ability we're going to get in Nico Collins, unfortunately. But you know what these numbers on a 66% snap share throughout an entire season tell me? Is that if I'm going to get a Nico Collins season where he plays 14 games, if I'm going to get a Nico Collins season in 2025 where CJ Stroud and the Texans offense isn't floating below average, maybe they can be just about average, because that's a really underrated part of all of this. When I'm looking at the next tier of wide receivers, in every draft, I'm looking at if I'm in the middle or back end of round one, if I need a wide receiver, it's Malik Nabers, it's Puka Nacua, and it's Nico Collins. Those are the 3 guys I see right away. Those are the 3 guys that pique my interest. But now, what makes me want to pick the Texans wide receiver, which, let's be honest, not available. The Texans have a really bad O-line, maybe even the worst in the NFL. So why would I still rather take my chances on Nico Collins and the potential that could be versus the other guys? And I'm going to be honest, I think in Malik Nabers' case, I think quarterback play is going to come back to haunt him this year. I was on the record last year saying Malik Nabers is phenomenal. I would rather have Malik Nabers than Marvin Harrison Jr. in a redraft. I was right about that. What does it really mean in 2025? Nothing. But I will tell you this about Malik Nabers. He is an absolute beast. But don't you think that trying to establish a rapport with multiple quarterbacks within a season, because let's be honest, there's not going to be one quarterback that plays every single game for the Giants this year. That's just not going to happen. I don't even know for the Giants who I'm going to get at quarterback every single week. I don't even know what the connection between Malik Nabers and that quarterback is going to look like on a given week. And I'm worried that those things, and considering we don't even know what kind of level of quarterback play he's going to get. Yes, he succeeded and passed with flying colors with abysmal quarterback play last year. But what if he gets abysmal quarterback play again and doesn't get on the same page with a quarterback because he's got 3 different quarterbacks starting in different games? Like, this could be a carousel of quarterbacks that I'm not interested in, to be honest. Despite Malik Nabers' head and shoulders way better than the other options as a player, I think I would rather take the chance on Nico Collins, and that CJ Stroud is going to be better than what he was a year ago. And if Nico Collins was healthy and didn't get injured last year with a bad CJ Stroud and that bad QB play and bad offense, he still would have been an elite wide receiver last year. And in the case for Puka Nacua, and again, I understand if you would rather select a Puka Nacua or Malik Nabers over a Nico Collins, I understand. I'm here to at least just argue the latter. And that latter is, Yeah, Puka Nacua got hurt. I'm not really worried about his injury concern. Yes, now after what happened last year, I have to be open to some kind of injury risk. I still think it's a very low injury risk. I'm more so worried about the injury risk of Matthew Stafford and what's going to happen to my first round pick, Puka Nacua, if something happens to Matthew Stafford. And I understand anybody could get injured in fantasy. Nico Collins could not play a single game in 2025. CJ Stroud could get hurt just as likely, if not more, than Matthew Stafford. But I seen Matthew Stafford fairly healthy the last 2 seasons. He's going into his age 37 season. I don't know if I want to invest my first round pick in a guy that I know is otherworld talent, but I have to rely on Matthew Stafford to stay healthy because I don't trust the backup quarterback situation in LA. And now with those things considered, I'm looking at Nico Collins in the Texans situation. I know the offensive line might be some of the worst offensive line in the NFL, maybe NFL history, but I still want to take the chance on if I get 14 games of Nico Collins, this could be a top 5 wide receiver. This could be a top 7 wide receiver. If I get Nico Collins for the entire season, good luck. Just to explain how good, despite the availability concerns, Nico Collins is, in the last 2 seasons, only 4 wide receivers have posted up 2.5 or more yards per route run. And that list is A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Puka Nacua, and Nico Collins. And let's go back to Puka because he had an incredible 11-game season. It was one that, yes, you wanted more, but considering he only played 11 games, there was room and a belief that there's potential for more. But if I'm trying to project what the Rams are going to be in 2025, I don't really believe that we're going to see more good football left of the LA Rams and Matthew Stafford than we are bad football. And I'm not saying that win or lose, Puka Nacua can't have a day. But I am saying that if something were to happen to Matthew Stafford, or maybe it's even just a fall off in production at age 37, he is getting older. Of course, he's an extremely talented quarterback, but everybody gets old. Everybody leaves their prime eventually. Do any of us really know for sure if they're going to continue throwing the ball at the high volume that they do? We really don't. But we know if Matthew Stafford's going to throw the ball over 500 times, Puka Nacua is locked in safe at that wide receiver 1. But injury, age, these are all things to consider in his quarterback, and that kind of makes me deter away from using a first-round pick on Puka this year, though he is undoubtedly one of the best wide receivers in football. And just to kind of compare, I'm not saying Nico Collins is on the same level as a Justin Jefferson, but let's go back and look at what Justin Jefferson's 2023 season was with god-awful quarterback play, even worse, but in less games, 10 games. In 2 less games in 2023 versus Nico Collins' 2024 last season, where he only played 12 games, Justin Jefferson had 100 targets, so 1 more target than Nico Collins in 2 games. In 2 less games, that's really good. 68 receptions, so Nico Collins is lacking in that department versus Justin Jefferson, who had the same amount in 2 less games. And Nico Collins had 2 more touchdowns in 2 more games. So we're talking about a 12-game sample size of Nico Collins versus 10 of Justin Jefferson. And again, it's clear as day Justin Jefferson's sample size from last year with lesser quarterback play is way more impressive and better. But we're not fully understanding the grasp of what a full season of what 17 games of Nico Collins could look like in fantasy football. I understand you may rather take the 115 receptions that Amon-Ra St. Brown is virtually guaranteed to have, but a full season of Nico Collins, or even 15 games, if he can just mostly stay healthy for a season and not miss 5 or more games, you're looking at an elite wide receiver. I think he's a lot closer to that Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb tier than he is that Amon-Ra St. Brown tier right under him. There's no guarantees, but one could assume that no Stephon Diggs anymore in Houston, no Tank Dell for probably most of the season, probably all of fantasy season, the regular season at least. Yes, you add Jaden Higgins and Christian Kirk, but Nico Collins is head and shoulders better than everybody in that room. It's not even close. A healthy Nico Collins in this offense could actually get 130 targets which would put him in line for that top 5 range. I don't really think that that's likely, but for somebody that almost had 100 targets in 12 games, I don't see why it's impossible. But all in all, there's no doubt that there is a concern if you are drafting Nico Collins. There's also a concern if you virtually draft anybody else in the first round as well. I just wanted to kind of lay out and show some sort of numbers and stats that show how good Nico Collins is if he actually stays on the field and plays. And I'm buying into the fact that if he's there in the middle of the first round, the end of the first round in my leagues, I'm taking him. Or better yet, I may even leave him there knowing that other players may not take him if his ADP continues to stay where it is. If people continue to consistently take a Malik Nabers or even open up the conversation of Amon-Ra St. Brown versus Nico Collins, who would you rather have? I feel like I'm better off just waiting on Nico Collins and taking that value where it is. He may not finish as a top 5 wide receiver, but if he's on the field and he's available in this offense, and I get an upgraded CJ Stroud season from what it was last year, which was honestly really bad, I have potentially a top 5 wide receiver in the back of the first round. And that's going to wrap it up for this video. I just want to say, if you took the time out of your day to watch this entire video, thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. If you're new here, you like fantasy football content, make sure you subscribe down below. Plenty of off-season content will be had if you stick around on this channel. If you're not new here, you've been around the block, make sure you smash that like button for your boy. I really appreciate that. And if you disagree, if you like another wide receiver better, drop a comment down below and we'll have a discussion about it. Again, thank you guys so much for watching the video. My name is Turtle. This is Outlier Fantasy, and I will see you in the next video.